Montana Leaders. My name is Kirk Miller, and I'm the Executive Director of School Administrators of Montana. And I'm happy to be with you today to introduce a two-part video series that has been created that outlines some wonderful work that's taken place over the past year. The first part of the series is Sir Michael Fullen presenting his change theory and leadership for educators across the state of Montana. That was produced at the SAM Administrators Institute in July of 2014. The second part of the series is SAM's own 21st Century Leadership Institute program, which is a project-based, embedded, technology-driven professional learning that's available to all administrators across the state of Montana. And Tom Unwin does a fine job of describing and getting that program ready to go. I hope that you'll enjoy. This is something we're very proud of, and please let us know what you think.
The core of our work is building teacher collaboration skills, talk about where we are, where we want to go. Here is my job. Okay? My job is to provide the curriculum or the content for you to learn the stuff you need to learn, to do what you need to do. So, pulling out the research of Ford, others, that's what it's based on. I don't think any of these ideas are Mike Fullen, Doug Reeves. I developed a list, right on your piece of paper. There's 19 things, we could have called this, 19 things you gotta do to lead your PLC to greatness. So these are the tasks, the jobs, the strategies that I think you need to learn to do this. And if you flip through the pages, they're numbered. Part A is the introduction. Again, we've got 21 things. You might just flip through that and look through them. We're going to work on these in a little bit more detail over the next hour or so. These are the things you got to do. And my job is to provide you the curriculum and instruction and design it in such a way that we can, what we really want to do is facilitate one another, collaborate to develop the skills together. Yeah, we'll be able to do some stuff right now. You might be able to set up some conversations and talk with one another right in the e-tail end as we meet today, okay? The last time we tried to do that, so you've got the link, do you? Anybody? Just click on the link and open it up, and you'll come in to this page right here. I'm going to scroll down a bit to get into the center of the screen that we're looking at. The ETLN, I'm going to have to sit down for this because I'm going to have to. The ETLN is like, just think about it as an online website where we can house all the stuff and dialogue, the asynchronous, the webinars, all the stuff and resources that we want to use in our project. So when you click on that link, you're coming in to, I run this out of my business, and it's called the Education Thought Leader Network. And again, it's a on-site framework for learning. Okay? Now, when I come into this, I come into the general ETLN. You can see I'm going to scroll down here to move some of this stuff over so you can see it on your screen. And if I scroll down, what we're looking at is there's an introduction, and then there's all the groups that I belong to. And what shows on my screen, this is the national site. And I'm seeing all the groups that are out there that are open to everybody else. What I've done is I've created our group. No one else can get into but us. Okay? And so what you have to do to get in there is, and anybody who clicks on that link, and we're inviting anybody to join, anybody can come in from anywhere in the world, okay, and join. So there's opportunities down the line if we get this rolling for you to connect with other people across the country. So choose. Okay. So I'm just going to show you one of the units here. Okay. The first one is the introduction, which explains how to use this. Okay. I'm going to go down to the first unit, which is, we're going to spend a little bit of time on this today. The first one of the things you may want to spend some time doing, or working with your teachers to do, if you're building teacher collaboration capacity, you might want to spend some time with them learning about PLCs and how they operate. So I've got the materials there that will teach you, or you can use to teach them. This piece here, my diagram's not up there anymore. I would do this with the pre-launch stage. But if you're into building PLCs, I don't know if you want to go back and do this. It might be valuable because you're not doing some things right when you're at stage, or you're 2.0 or 2.2. It might be valuable for you to do that, but it might not. So you're going to pick and choose what resources you want, okay? So let's look at how I've organized a unit, okay? Each unit has the same categories, okay? This unit is about one of the things you got to do, one of the 21 things you got to do to build your PLC, and it's learn about PLC. Choose to do this or not, because you're in charge of your own learning. Personalize it for what you need. There's categories of stuff here. One is printable, adaptable, usable documents and tools. So, if I'm making a presentation, if there's a teaching unit in each module, and there's documents associated like this one, it's in that unit. So you have the capacity to use the other materials, but if you're teaching it to your people, you also have the documents that I've shared with you. Just click on it, print it, and you can also amend them. You don't like the way they're done, make them work for you. And it may be that sometimes you want your other teachers to teach this. Show their way in. That's how you're going to build their capacity to do all this. Have them teach other people or work with you to do it, okay? So there's documents. Each unit has an on-demand module. So what I'm doing, I've only got one done so far, but it'll be done in 2 weeks. Promise. Every module will be in there in 2 weeks. And I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. I've got the only module that I've got done right now is the very first one. And so let's say you want to work on your staff with learn about PLCs. I've recorded the PowerPoint with a voiceover with instruction to talk about it. Attach the documents so you can use it. So what you do is bring your faculty together and you click on this module, got to click here, and now I'm into the recording. I'm going into Adobe Connect right now. Just clicking on that link takes you in there. Got to make it bigger. This is all there's to it, by the way. You can't hear it, okay? But it's my voice working through the PowerPoint. And the thing is designed in such a way, it's a little teaching moment, just like I'm doing right now. And each time there's activities that you can do with your group. So the way you would use this, you can use it in another way. You can say, gee, I want to kind of refresh my understanding of PLCs, if you did. Click on this and just play it while you're talking on the phone or watching TV or doing whatever you're doing. And kind of focus in and out and kind of preview it, and you got your little teaching. Okay, so in thinking about me, if I was running one of these groups and I'm at a 2.0, and I know my group, and it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to talk about learning about PL. We're beyond that. Okay? And what's Unit 2? It's understanding change theory. That's all the Fulham stuff. My thinking is that if you're going to work on teacher collaboration, a theoretical background, understanding about how change works, and get a context for it and a rationale. If that's going to be helpful for you to move your teachers forward, use that unit. It's constructed the same way. Okay? Unit 3, I call it check the dashboard. One of the things you want to do as you move forward is kind of take a self-assessment of where your school is at in terms of its performance. You all know this. You just talked about where your PLC is at. But you can also look at where your performance is at, and that might give you some clues on what you want to work on. Some of you have very, very specific already ideas about what you need to focus on. You might want to spend some time looking at and working with your team to figure that out together. There's a process that you can do it. You're probably more than capable of getting your own protocol and your own process. You might want to look at this to see how I did and say, my group will work like this. I'll take 2 little pieces of what he said, add 3 or 4, and deliver it like this and have a conversation. Okay? It's a time saver, and it's providing a framework of work. 21 things you got to do. And as you work from 1 to 21, there's no right formula for picking and choosing what you want to do. So you're going to pick out where you want to come in, but generally speaking, one starts at the beginning of that scale and moves to 2021 to the higher end. The more and more complex and sophisticated your PLC is, you're probably going to be doing stuff at the back end of this. You're probably going to be looking at the modules 16, 17, how to share leadership, how to monitor the program, how to teach people how to share practice. I'm not going to go through all these in detail right now. But that's the model, okay? I'm going to do one more thing, ETLN, that we can play with here. So one thing that the ETLN is, provides resource. But what we really want it to be able to do, this is a good thing for it to do. We've got it organized now. And we've got our structure that we understand. What we really want it to do is to be able to provide another way you can have conversations with people and dialogue. Okay? In addition to the 3 face-to-face sessions that we're having during the year, we want to design, last year we designed and scheduled them, they were an hour and a half long, and there were 1 or 2 in between the face-to-face sessions. Yeah, that feedback we got from you is that's not smart. That's not a good way to do this. What we should do is, first of all, they should never be more than an hour. Very, very maximum. More like 15 minutes or 30 minutes. Secondly, they should be developed as they are needed. In other words, some of you may need something about dealing with blockers and dissenters, or about building culture in your school. And there's some of you that are working on that. We can create a number of different tools for you. We can create a little on-demand module. I'll do some research, put together a little piece, teach it. It might be one of the providers who's got special expertise in an area. The expertise of the providers is incredible. And if we can tap into that, it might be them putting a very short module together on something that's needed by one or many of you. And it's available. It can be a live presentation that you can tune into, or we can record it, and it goes into the right category in the resource center. Okay. The other thing that I thought of, and I prefer to do in terms of collaborative modules or collaborative strategies, is for us to say, okay, there's a topic that a number of these people want to talk about. And it might be something like, again, building culture in your school. Well, what we just found out was that many of you are kind of down the road with doing some of these things. So my idea would be to pick and choose some of you and create what we might call a round table. It's 30 minutes long. 2 or 3 of you are pulled out and said, can you just talk to 5 minutes about how you did online? It's live. And everybody else can tune in if they wish to. And there's this discussion online using one of my meeting rooms. We can use GoToMeeting if we want, or one of those tools. I know how to use Adobe, and so we can use that. And walk through it, and everybody says for 3 minutes, here's what I'm doing around that, here's what I'm doing around that. There's questions back and forth and discussion and dialogue, and it's over in 30 minutes. But we provided just-in-time collaboration and learning around what you need. So that's what I'm hoping to use this tool for too. Okay, the next thing I want to go back right there. I want to go back to this document just for a second. And I want to, we're doing pretty well by close to 7 o'clock. We're ahead of where I thought we were. So this is very good. I want to work through one of these units with you very, very quickly. Okay. So I would like for us to move to unit number, it's the one on establishing expectations. Number 6 on your sheet. Probably going to end up being number 7. Things around that. Okay. Now, this one, of all the 21 things, I would say all of them, except this one, are from full and floor and floor to the rest. This is a personal thing. It's the way I operate. If I'm in your place, what I need to do, like this visual learner thing, is it's so helpful for me to get a mental picture of where I want to end up down the road. Okay? So that's the only exercise that I want us to do. If you take out this document, so just a little processing thing that I want us to do, to start out and say, okay, remember these are the two pillars. It's a little exercise for us. Okay? So the blue thing on the left there, we've got the dates, and the blue column is teacher collaboration. Because remember, this is what we're working on. You're building your collaborations. So what you might want to do at the top of that blue form is wherever the team, or it was a range of teams, I would write that down in August. That's where I'm starting. The teacher collaboration, what stage I'm at. 0, 1, 2, or want to get more specific, 1.2. I'll just write that there. Okay. Now what I want you to do is to say, based on what my culture is, what I know, and some people are new, and some, wherever you are, where do you hope to get by the end of this year? Just a hope. It's not like a plan. It's not a goal. It's just this thinking ahead. Is where would I like to be? You've got those descriptors, I'm sure, in your head of level 1, level 2, level 3. So I'm starting at a 1.0. I think I could move these folks to doing a 2.0, whatever. Just think about this. And my feeling is that this exercise, and it's only me saying this, is a critical element of leadership. And you've got to be able to see the end in mind. And when you can share that with other folks, that will bring them on board and push the agenda forward. If you look at your thing here about setting expectations, you start with where you are and where you're going to go, okay? Now, when the point, if you might think also about benchmarking, so you're going to move from a 1 to a 2, where would you have to be at Christmas time? Where would you have to be at April, like that? You might think about that. But the big thing for me is if you set in your mind what your expectations for yourself are, and the place where you hit 2.0 along this line is when you start thinking about you're going to be able to drive some results and things. You might think about where that might be this year. Will you be able to get there this year? Do you hope to get there this year? The team, over the course of the year, we did this one already, establish expectations. You might want to look at the organize and design unit. That unit is about, you have to make some decisions when you start out with your team about how it's going to be organized and function. When are you going to meet? Who is going to be the leader? How you're going to make decisions. How you'll make sure those decisions stick. There's a list. If you go into the thing, you can see the list, and there's a PowerPoint there. You can work through the module if you need to. Some of you are beyond this. Some of you are just setting this up. And you might want to just look at those things to think about the baseline of creating the foundation of your team before you start doing the work. You might want to look at the module around building culture, because I don't know if this comes first or after. You have to get your school in a position where they're ready to talk. And when we talked about what we were doing in our schools, I heard some of you say, I got some groundwork to do here about building culture. I got some groundwork to do about getting some alignment between what we're thinking about what schools are about. So you might want to do work on looking at your mission statement, looking at your vision statement. Do you have written beliefs about your behaviors, belief statements about how you operate? One of the ways you can build culture in your school is to revisit those things, and if you don't have, how many of you have a mission statement in your school? Most people do. Okay. Sometimes you've got a great mission statement, but it sits on the wall or sits in a book and really doesn't get activated and worked and used. So you might want to go through a process of meeting with your group initially to talk about your mission statement. And that process of doing that helps you build that culture and line things up. You might want to talk to them about building your own vision statement. vision statement is a few. We kind of did it a little bit about where you want to get to with your group, but you might want to develop a vision statement. There's stuff to help you do it in that module, by the way, if you want more information on this. But building a vision statement is a statement of what you expect your school to be like in 5 years, that you're working together in alignment, and aligned to get there. Working through the process with those teams and with your entire faculty is a way of building that culture, because you start talking about it, you start processing, and you can start dealing with those challenges that are coming from different people in your group so that you can move forward. And that may be something you do before you actually start doing the work of your group. So I'm not sure, sometimes it comes after, sometimes it comes during, and sometimes you have to do it before in order to even have the conversations that you want to have when you're starting out and working on your project. Another thing you might want to look at is building the collaboration skills before you start. Another call is to do it after you start as you're going. So it's just a call on what order you put those tasks and jobs in. Remember, we're learning by doing, and when you're working with your teams, this is something that Thomas Herr, it's spelled H-O-E-R-R, and he used to do a lot of writing for ASCD in Ed Leadership. There was always an article by Thomas Herr. He's a principal of a multi-intelligence school in St. Louis, and I attended a webinar that he did, and he said something that really stuck with me about, and I wish I had thought about this when I was a principal, when I worked with teens. There's 3 possible ways we make decisions, he said, and he shared this with the team. Sometimes you decide. Sometimes the decision is yours individually, and you get to decide what you want. And those would be decisions about instructional practices, what strategies they want to do, ordering, working with their kids in their classes. It's their decision. In some cases, I'm doing it in reverse. Sometimes they decide. Okay? Sometimes I decide. I'm the principal, and there's a list of things that are my decision. And I have to keep those as mine. It doesn't necessarily, everything isn't democratic and collaborative. Some stuff is in my purview, and I have to make it. I've got some mandates that I receive from the board, some laws that are in place of how we have to behave and act, and I have to make decisions in accordance with those. Those are my decisions. And sometimes we decide. Sometimes we decide together and we collaborate. So there's 3 kinds of ways we make decisions here. You, me, us. The collaborative place is where those decisions that we make together. So getting that straight with people really can save a lot of time and some hassles down the road. So it might be something else you want to do in talking to your group before you move forward. Here's what I suggest you do. So now what we're picturing here is you've made the decision that at this meeting, you're going to start the process of moving forward. It may be that you're going to be working from deciding and building your collaborative skills together, or you're actually going to start working on the project. My feeling is that what you want to frame, you're creating a purpose. Here's what we're going to do this year. And my heartfelt advice to you is when you get to this point and you're launching, you want to make that decision with me. You're going to decide together. I don't think that's something I would turn over at this point in time, starting the direction of, to them alone. You've got some responsibility to that group to lead it, and you would want to be there for that piece, guide them and help them in making that decision, but that would be a we decision. We're going to work as a team to decide what we want to work on. We have the rationale together. It's going to be a huge motivator for them to feel that they own this work that you're doing together. So when I'm talking about tasking the team, this is launching the project, and my suggestion to you is the dialogue and conversations with you is frame it around student learning. The work you do, frame it around student learning. So, 3 suggestions. I can't, you get to decide whatever your project is, what you want to work on, and it has to mean something to you. I'm making a very strong suggestion because I think it's going to be very, very helpful for you to choose something that's directly related to student learning. And here's my thinking. First of all, we're all talking about developing collaborative cultures. Student learning is the stuff that PLCs are made of. That's what they're designed to do, to have people collaborate around improving student learning. So it's sort of the DNA of PLCs. Secondly, I really believe that teachers will grab onto this. The teachers really do have an internal mission about wanting to help kids grow. This is going to be, it's a winner. It's really hard for teachers to say at a meeting, they don't want to help kids learn. If it's focused on teacher improvement, I think you're going to run into problems. I don't think that's a good way to go, because they're feeling like you're correcting them. They're the problem. If you focus on student learning, it's not teachers that are the problem. It's not teachers you're improving. You're improving student learning. You can buy into that. If you focus on improving them, and they have the feeling that the project here is improving them, of course you are really improving everybody, but the focus is on student learning. And it takes all of the pressure off them and enables them to collaborate, okay? It's your job. It's the epicenter of what you're about, improving student learning. And the other thing that I'm thinking here is I really want to encourage you to decide that the project that you work on aligns with what you have to do anyways. If you make this project or the work with your PLC or collaboration something that you weren't going to do anyways, or that you needed to do, it will become an add-on, and it's going to become very, very difficult for you to do. So what I'm thinking is that some element of student learning is going to be a big central part of your job next year, no matter how you cut it. So whatever you do, glom onto one of those things that you are going to do anyways, and that you have to do, whether that's implementing Common Core, RTI. There's a million ways that can play out, but there's some element of student learning. Eventual outcome of the work that you're doing with your collaboration with your PLC is going to end up in some way improving student learning. A million ways you can get there, but the focus is on student learning. Okay? The other thing is that no one wants to work on a project that's helping you get your master's degree or thesis. They want to work on something that's relevant and important to them, part of their mission as an engineer. So, lots of ways to do this, and you want to guide them to making a decision like this, okay? It could be either something directly related to student, when I say direct, is we want to work together to improve literacy scores. We want to work together to see what kind of proficiency levels, because you don't have anything to measure it against, I don't think at this point, what kind of proficiency levels we can get in the new Common Core standards in English language arts or in math. And I promised the Common Core folks yesterday that I would say this, and just a suggestion and idea, that if I was doing something, and I'll tell you why I would do this, I would make my project something to do with implementing the Common Core standards. Not that you don't have a million other good ideas. Keep them. I'm just telling you why I would suggest that. I went to their session the other day, and there is a ton of people, resources that you can use to help you get that job done. In some way or other, you're going to have to do this anyways. So I see it really fitting in. So if I can convince you to do that, great. If not, the ones I've already heard about from you already are fine too. It's just that I thought that would be so well-resourced and supported by OPI. There's tons of free professional development, and they've got regional people, professional development people, to work with your teams to do it. It's heaven to do, it's going to make your job so much easier because of the kind of support you can get, and they want to do it collaboratively and they want to work with you. So that's out there for you. And to me, it's not a shortcut, and it's not going to be easy, but it's going to be easier, if I can make a suggestion. Okay? There's lots of other good stuff to do. Some of the indirect stuff is that you might want to be on, I've heard this a little bit, we want to work on our RTI, we want to build our skills there. But to me, working on the ultimate measurement of that task is student achievement. you're building your RTI expertise so that more of those tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 kids, whatever you might be focused on, are doing better, and you can measure the outcome of your project in student learning. You can see it happen. And that's same with behavior management. Behavior is learning. That's a learning. So I see that as another student learning project. You measure behavior. It's measurable. Formative assessment is another great one. I think it was Grant Wiggins who said that assessment is the Trojan horse of school reform. That's where you start frequently in the teaching learning process, what we want the outcomes to be, and that is a tool that is necessary, I believe, is necessary in order to move the school improvement agenda forward. So that would be another great, and I've got the Common Core